definitely. All right. What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Doc and Dog presented by the Fantasy Holics. My name is Jordan Jaika, aka Dr. Fantasy. I am here with my co host, Rydawg, and today we are talking some Texas Rangers baseball. And we are in the middle of our mini series where we are breaking down each lineup, rotation, and a few impact prospects for each major league roster, talking a little bit about how it affects your fantasy league. So, we're talking Texas Rangers. So, Rydawg, how you feeling about the Rangers?
I feel decent about them. They're not in the top three that we discussed, but I mean, let's see what happens. They have
And
some promise.
yeah, I think I don't think they're as bad as people talk about. They're pretty solidly in fourth in this division, but we'll talk about it a little bit. So, without further
Yeah.
ado, well, before I forget, I always forget. This is presented by the Fantasy Holic. So make sure you like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter at FantasyHolics1. Don't forget to check out our new website, thefantasyholics.com. And now we can jump into it. So we will
Woo!
jump into the projected lineup here. Number one is Sin Chu Chu, and he is currently listed as their DH. We have he also has outfield eligibility, I should say. He's currently going pick 240, has a decent ownership percentage, meaning he is being drafted. He's older now. He's slowing down. He still has 15 steals pretty consistently every season. I mentioned it last episode with Tommy LaStella, who's obviously in a better lineup, but leadoff guys just always intrigue me because they're going to score runs. If they have any steal potential, hit any amount of home runs, I'm always intrigued by him, but he is older. I will say he has a ton of upside if you're in a league that counts on base percentage. He still has a great plate discipline. He's in the high, right around 370 still for on base, which is why he's leading off for him. So if that's a category that is tracked in your league, he definitely has more value.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the leadoff guy just is, and you're right. It gets so intriguing because he's probably the first guy that'll likely score your first run. So it's intriguing to have guys that are in the leadoff spot. And soon Suchu's a little past his prime, but I think he can still perform to an extent.
Yep. 100%. Number two in that lineup is the speedy shortstop Elvis Andrus, currently going pick 160. I've actually seen he's not my starting shortstop for the record in any league, but
Yeah.
I've seen a few guys have him as their starting shortstop. It depends on whether or not you're enamored with steals. I mean, this is a guy that still steals 30 bases. He makes really weak contact, but he still can get you 15 home runs, 30 steals. 15 home runs might even be a little optimistic. We'll say closer to 10, but right in that range. I'm never a big fan of taking these guys only for steals. I more approach it from getting steals from multiple positions. Just from a standpoint, if Andrus goes down, I mean, that hurts your steal department immensely, and that's the only reason that you took him. So at pick 160, I can't really argue with it. Don't think he has a ton of upside. I think he is what he is at this point, a guy 10 home runs, scores 75, 80 runs, 30 steals, and, he is what he is, like I said.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the way to put it. He doesn't hit the ball hard at all. He relies on getting on base a lot. I personally wouldn't take him as my starting shortstop. I think there are just way better players out there that provide more than just stolen bases.
Yep. Number three in this lineup is, I believe, the guy being drafted the highest. Yep, it looks like between their rotation and lineup, Joey Gallo in their outfield, currently going pick 88. He's a guy, if he stays healthy, I would mark him down for 40 home runs.
Yeah,
But if, once again, is a big question with him, and he really doesn't provide much outside of the home runs. And I've talked about this before. There's a lot of power in Major League Baseball now. So I'm not, even though 88's not overly high, I just don't love taking a guy that only gets me home runs. He's not going to have an overly high average. He's not going to score a ton of runs because the lineup starts to get really weak. So I don't love
yeah.
taking a guy that's just, 40 home runs. I think people get a little excited about that, but it's not hard to find power. And he doesn't really provide much outside of that.
Yeah, I can agree with that. His lineup is it's really a below average lineup, so it's not like he's going to drive in a lot of runs either. You could legitimately see him hitting 40 home runs, but only managing 80 RBIs. So
Yep.
And his average, he reminds me a lot of Adam Dunn, is who he actually really
Yeah.
reminds me of, because he's a big guy and he's going to go out there and do his thing if he stays healthy. But with that being said, 88, it's not terrible value.
No,
It's not great. It's the Starling Marte that we like to call it, but he's
it's fine.
nowhere near. It's fine. But I would take him as my third outfielder, I suppose.
Yep, I would agree. Number 4 is Danny Santana in that lineup. And I know a lot of people that are really down on Danny Santana. I actually really like Danny Santana. That's okay if I'm in the minority. And it's not because of the multi-position eligibility. So this season he has first base, second base, shortstop, third base, and outfield eligibility. So I think he offers the most value, obviously, as a second baseman, which we've talked about as a very shallow position. And first base is very weak, so you could argue that could be your starting first baseman. But I really like him. He's currently going pick 150. He has great plate discipline, a really low K rate, and we've seen flashes of it before last season. He just never had a consistent full season. Had some injury problems with the Twins a little bit, but he's never put together a full season. And he had 28 home runs and 21 steals last year. I don't know if people realize that, but that's actually a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
We're always talking about trying to find 2020 guys, and he had almost 30 home runs and 21 steals. So, I mean, that's a pretty big deal to me. Do I think that he's going to hit 28? I think the 21 steals are realistic. He's probably closer to a 20 to 25 home run guy, but even still, at pick 150 to find a guy that's a 2020 guy, I don't know. I get excited by that.
I do, and you're getting steals and home runs with it. So if you got 2020 at 150, it's great value. People kind of sleep on Danny Santana maybe because he's a little older, and the lineup's not really good outside of him and Gallo, I guess you could say. But it's decent. It's really good value, actually. It's really great value, and I'll take him. You're getting a 2020 guy for that value. Sign me up all day.
Then going to the bottom of this lineup, starts to get a little more exciting, but names that a lot of people probably know still. Number 5 is Todd Frazier at third base. From his time at the Mets, I was never impressed with Todd Frazier. He's older now. I don't think that he really has any fantasy relevance. When you look at his metrics, he hits the ball really softly, so not much to speak of there. Number 6 is Rogned Odor playing second base for him. He's an intriguing name. I mean, he was a pretty highly regarded coming up, but he's going pick 241 right now. I mean, he hit 30 home runs at the second base position. That's definitely impressive. He hit the ball very hard. He strikes out, I think, at a 100% rate, it seems like, but he had a 33%, I believe, was his whiff rate last year. So swings and misses a lot. He actually improved his walk percentage, which was interesting to me. But overall, the biggest concern to me, he had a 205 average, and that's really not. That's rough. So as much as his metrics point to him being a nice home run hitter, I guess I'll say overall that even with the 205 average, I don't have a problem if you have average elsewhere in your lineup. There's not going to be many third or second basemen that hit 30 home runs. So actually, I don't have a problem in taking him as one of your last picks, especially if you're in a league where you have a middle infield starting spot beyond just a second baseman. I actually don't have a problem with Odor. That average is scary, but if you can make it up elsewhere, getting 30 home runs out of your second baseman could be really advantageous.
Yeah, and I want to rewind back a bit to the Todd Frazier. He was, once he signed with the Mets, I mean, his time was done with the White Sox, actually.
Yeah.
He was really decent with the White Sox, and after that, I mean, yeah, he's not fantasy relevant, though, but let's go back to Odor. I like Odor, actually. I mean, if I can get myself a guy that hits a high average, let's just say I get a second baseman early on, like DJ LeMahieu. And of course, you're not going to only carry one second baseman, right? So LeMahieu hits for a high average, a very high average, and you get a guy like Odor, who also hits 20 some home runs. How many home runs did Odor hit last year? 25.
He had above 30.
Oh, he hit above 30 exactly. Yeah. So, you get a 300 hitter and you get a 200 hitter. So the average right there is 25 250 average, and then you got LeMahieu at 25 home runs. You got Odor who hit above 30. That's 55 home runs right there. So that's decent value. You just have to balance it out when you get both the power and the average. So you find guys that can get higher average, and then you can take a chance on these guys that have a bad average that hit a lot of home runs, and especially in a position of being like second baseman, get like Odor and LeMahieu to pair up. That's a solid second base pairing, and that way you don't have to struggle and find one to getting a full lineup.
Yep, definitely. Number 7 listed in that lineup right now is Nick Solik in the outfield. He's one of their top prospects right now. He also has second base eligibility. Willie Calhoun's probably going to get some at-bats there as well, so we'll see how those at-bats shake up. But Nick Solik right now is listed in their outfield. Calhoun is injured, and that's why they have Solik in the starting lineup, by the way. Solik's currently going pick 251. He's a name. I don't think I'm probably going to draft him, but he's a guy that I might add to my watch list just because he, as at the second base position, hit 20 to 25 home runs in the minors. So, that's always intriguing to me. We haven't seen consistent at-bats enough in the majors yet to know if he can do that at the major league level, but he's still a guy I'll add in my queue and keep an eye out on. And, maybe he ends up being a starting second baseman with consistent at-bats.
Yeah, for sure. And he's, like I said, like you said, he's not someone I'm going to look forward to drafting. But, I mean, if he starts to get hot during the regular season, if we have one, and, he starts to get more at-bats, I'd be all in on picking him up.
Yep. And then we'll talk about while we're here, too, Willie Calhoun will probably also get some at-bats in that spot. So he's currently going pick 193. I know a lot of people that have Willie Calhoun as one of their sleepers. He's only 25 years old. I personally haven't seen the upside for him. From watching him play, number 1 and number 2, based on his metrics, didn't hit the ball very hard. I just personally, a lot of people love him as a sleeper. I don't personally see it. If you see it, have at it at pick 193. It's obviously good value if you like him, but I personally don't see the upside there.
No, I don't either, and especially in this lineup with it being below average, as I said. I mean, you can't really get excited for too many hitting prospects in this lineup, honestly.
Yep. Then batting number 8 for them is their catcher, Robinson Chirinos, currently going pick 238. You mentioned this name in the Astros episode.
I did.
He does have some power potential. I'm not the biggest fan of him personally. I mean, catcher's a shallow position, so I can't argue with that. He gets you, some power at the catcher position. I look a lot at metrics, and I bring that up frequently. I don't dive too much into the details, but when you look at a lot of them were not promising at all. I actually had Ouchie as my note next to it, so a lot of it wasn't promising, but if you're looking for a low-end catcher that's going to get you 20 or so home runs, I don't have a problem with it, but you already mentioned before, this is a poor lineup, so that kind of caps his upside, especially batting 8th.
Yeah, especially batting 8th. And if he was back with the Astros, we would be talking about something different, but he's here now, and, well, that sucks for his fantasy value.
Number 9 in this lineup, I actually have no notes on him. I don't really have much to say about him. It's their first baseman, Ronald Guzman. Once again, it's not a great lineup. Batting in that 9 spot, he's not going to get as many at-bats. They don't have a ton of options at first base, so I guess he's going to get consistent at-bats, but not really anyone I'm targeting. So I don't really have any notes on him or any other notes on their lineup.
Yeah, I agree. He's probably not going to get many at-bats. I don't really have much to say about him. I just think he's just going to be an average ball player. Not much for fantasy.
Definitely. So we'll move over to their rotation then. A few interesting names here. Their number 1 pitcher is Corey Kluber. He is currently going pick 99. He's had huge injury concerns. I think that his upside is a little limited at 34 based on the metrics that I saw and the combination of his injury concerns. He personally isn't a guy that I target, but I think at 99, the reason that he still goes and he's not going later, and the reason he's going at 99 is I think his name. I mean, if he's able to overcome those injuries, then he definitely can overperform at that value. But I think at his age, once I start to see 34, 35-year-old pitchers have injuries, that's when I start to get a little concerned. So if he was going, in that 130 range a little later, then I would be a lot more on board. But you're talking at 99. He's going ahead of a guy like your boy Soroka, and I'd rather have Soroka in that spot. So I like the young upside guys. So I get if you like Kluber and what he's done in the past, but I'm looking towards the future personally.
Yeah, it's tough because he was hurt last year and he was off to a shaky start. I'd take him one more year. And for pitchers that were like guys like Cy Young guys that are still kind of old in a way, I'd give him one more year. I give it the 1 year after an injury to see if you can bounce back because I believe players like it's happened. Greinke has been consistent throughout his career, but we talked about Verlander and how Verlander was, he was up there with the Tigers. He was in his early to mid 30s, and then he got signed with the Astros, and they kind of helped his career. So you really look at it. Maybe that's what pitchers need. Even veterans kind of just like need a coaching still to work on their mechanics. And I think maybe the Rangers can help them. It's not great value, but I think it's the Starling Marte that we like to say it's fair value.
Yep, I would agree with that assessment. Yep. Number 2 is Mike Minor, who had a really impressive season last year, over 200 strikeouts. He's currently going pick 158. In everything I looked at, his metrics were very elite. He had a great season last year. We'll see if he can repeat it, but I think at 158, that's a great spot to take a chance on him repeating a season last year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's great value for a guy with 200 strikeouts, and he's kind of consistent. Just make sure you look for ERA either early on or later.
Yep. Number 3 in that rotation is Lance Lynn, currently going pick 140. And I don't know how I really missed this last season, but he had 246 strikeouts last year. I don't really know where that came from. I guess that went over my head throughout the course of the season, but that's really impressive. And when I was looking at all of his metrics, I mean, they were really impressive. So he might be one of those guys that's kind of put it all together. When he was with the Cardinals, he wasn't really known for being a strikeout guy. He's definitely an innings eater, a guy that you can count on to get you 190, 200 innings in a full season. So, I'll take a chance on a guy like that, especially at pick 140, because if he puts up another 200 inning, 246 strikeout season at pick 140, I mean, that's kind of a steal. So I'll have to see it another season to really know if he's put it all together. But at 140, I'll take that chance.
Yeah, that's actually really great value at 146 and 246 strikeouts. That's really great. It's hard to find guys that go above and beyond the 220s for strikeouts. So, I mean, it's great. I would take him as my third or fourth pitcher, actually. I think actually probably later than third, probably like, fourth or fifth pitcher. I would take him.
Yeah, definitely. Bottom half of their rotation, I don't really have any notes on them. Knowing that I'm drafting, it's not a great roster. I'm a little more optimistic on this roster than most, actually, but I think it's closer to a 500 team than most people have them pegged at. But number 4 is Kyle Gibson, who's been very underwhelming throughout the course of his career. Same with their number 5, Jordan Lyle. So not really fantasy relevant, no high K rates. ERAs are not impressive. WHIP's not impressive. There's really no reason that I would take either of them.
I would completely agree with you there, Doc.
And then their closer is Jose Leclerc. He's currently going pick 175. And I mentioned it with Robles in our Angels episode. It seems like the closers just go in the order of what their team's projected win total is. So same goes with this at 175. Leclerc's actually shown some flashes, so I actually like him at pick 175, and I've taken him several times. And like I said, if there's a team that you think is going to perform better, so for me, I think the Rangers are going to be a little better than people think. I think RotoChamp had them at 68 wins, and I don't quite have them as a team that's that poor, but I think that they're a better team than that. So I like the value of a guy like that to take their closer above their projected win total.
Yeah, I agree for that, for sure. I have them at like a 70, 75 too. I mean, I don't see them winning 80 games. I think I see them a couple games below 500.
Yep. Projected, let's see, that's it for their pitching rotation then. So finishing it off with their farm system, not much to talk about here. They're currently the 21st ranked farm system. We brought up Nick Solik earlier, who's really their only major league ready option. They have a very young farm system. A guy like Josh Jung, you're not going to see for several years. So I don't really have many notes on their impact prospects for this year. I'm interested to see where they go. It's the kind of organization where, like I said, I think that their upside is a 500 team. and really they don't have a ton coming up through their farm system. So they're going to need a few more pieces to compete in the future. And you mentioned earlier, I don't know if we were recording, but you mentioned they were much more interesting when Josh Hamilton was in his prime, and even Adrian Beltre. So they're
Oh,
they're
I love
very
some
very
Beltre.
very unexciting right now.
They are very unexciting, and it's a shame. Man, I love me some Beltre. He was so solid.
How can you not? So I think that's all that we have on the Rangers today. So we'll wrap it up. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been another episode of Doc and Dog presented by the Fantasy Holics. If you don't already, make sure you like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, lots of content on there. Follow us on Twitter at FantasyHolics1. And don't forget to check out our brand new website, thefantasyholics.com. Lots of great articles coming out every day. So thank you guys once again for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
See you later.
Peace.